Watching the stock market when this happened. The stock market surged initially about 100 points. It came back a few hours later to about where it had been. And also I've been watching the New York Mercantile Exchange. I watched what gold did. Gold had actually been down that morning. It was about $8.89, and when this happened it surged almost $60 an ounce.
And like I think you pointed out here, and I think it's great information, gold is not going up. Gold stays the same. When it takes more dollars to buy an ounce of gold, that is representative of your dollar losing its value.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an extraordinarily simple equation here. The more of something there is, the less it's worth.
And the Federal Reserve buying up Treasury notes when they print the money out of thin air, it's just a move toward inflation and hyperinflation, like real economists are telling us around the world.
Absolutely. And what did the United Nations, what is their viewpoint on this situation?
Well, the UN this past week, and this was reported by Reuters, UN panel says world should ditch the dollar. Now, we've been reporting this since we started, March 1st. We put it on our website. You put a button on our website, the economic collapse. We put that on prior to Bear Stearns or anything collapsing. But a UN panel will next week recommend that the world ditch the dollar as its reserve currency in favor of a shared basket of currencies, a member of the panel said on Wednesday, adding to pressure on the dollar. Now, I'm reading this straight from Reuters news agency, and listen to me, next week you'll be hearing this in some of the mainstream public press. Currency specialist Persaud, a member of the panel of experts, told a Reuters Fund summit in Luxembourg that the proposal was to create something like the old ECU, or European Currency Unit, that was a hard-traded, weighted basket. Persaud, chairman of Consultants Intelligence Capital and former currency chief at J.P. Morgan, said the recommendation would be one of a number delivered to United Nations on March 25th by the UN Commission of Experts on International Financial Reform. It's a good moment to move to a shared reserve currency, he said. Central banks hold their reserves in a variety of currencies and gold, but the dollar has dominated as the most convincing store of value, though its rate has wavered in recent years as the United States ran up a huge twin budget and external deficits. Now, we've been warning you of this. Now it's in the mainstream press. This is being reported by Reuters. Be prepared. You will be hearing more of this in the coming weeks and the coming months. Does this come as any surprise to you, Brian?
No.
Not a bit. So,
well, this leads us right back to where we start. That this is all by design, trying to take us into a new financial world order, to lead us into, of course, a new world order. This is an article by Steve Watson, Infowars.net. He does an extraordinary job explaining what's going on here. Misdirected bailout rage sets pretext for new financial world order. As we have previously highlighted, the elite have exploited the problem that they created to push for increased regulation of the world's economic system in the pursuit of a de facto global financial dictatorship. The swift and ruthless exploitation of the economic meltdown on behalf of globalists and central banks revolves around their drive to move towards a one-world currency system and unprecedented centralization of global financial power, a fact that financial analysts are finally beginning to realize. Last week, Ben Bernanke told an elite gathering at the Council on Foreign Relations that a new overreaching financial authority should be created and empowered with sweeping new regulatory responsibilities. Such a suggestion echoes that of elitist Paul Volcker, an Obama economic advisor and former Fed chairman, who has consistently called for regulatory crackdowns, along with other members of the elite group of 30 and the Trilateral Commission. During Volcker's address at Columbia University Center for Capitalism and Society last month, he said only new forms of international financial regulation will save us from the yawning catastrophe. All banks must be supervised and regulated, but those of systemic significance around the world, which almost inevitably are international, not just national, will be subject to a particular layer of supervision, said Volcker. British Prime Minister Gordon Brown, European Union heads, and established media outlets like the Wall Street Journal, amongst many others, have continually used the economic crisis as an excuse to argue for greater financial power, a new world economic order in which control is concentrated into fewer and fewer hands, with the IMF and the World Bank enjoying the spoils. UK Business Secretary and top Bilderberg member Peter Mandelson has also pushed for a Bretton Woods for this century to help build the machinery of global economic governance. Former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, and French President Nicolas Sarkozy all made the same appeal at a conference in Paris on the future of capitalism early this year. Merkel called for the creation of a new global economic body under the UN similar to the Security Council to judge government policy. Sarkozy called for, quote, "New world, new capitalism." During his speech, he commented, "In capitalism of the 21st century, there is no room for the state." As Ron Paul, Peter Schiff, and others have tirelessly argued, the only way to solve the financial crisis is to allow incompetent banks and companies to fail, not reward their misdeeds by giving them billions in taxpayer money. The only way to recapitalize the world is to provide incentives for people to work hard and save money, not by creating more credit out of thin air, which is what caused the problem in the first place. The globalist call for a centralized global economic order has nothing to do with providing solutions to the crisis, but everything to do with providing themselves with more power and control over the world's financial system.
More proof that, just like what we've said here, Brian, that this global financial collapse is by design. It's happening just as planned. It's a broad step by the New World Order to consolidate financial power into fewer and fewer hands, and to bring us down to a third world living standard by destroying the dollar.
Just as we saw it in the creation of the Federal Reserve in the first place, 1913, we had the panic of 1907, massive bank panic. It was initiated by J.P. Morgan, backed of course by the Rothschild family as a prerequisite, an excuse to get the Federal Reserve passed.
And then come forward, you've got their minion, Herbert Walker Bush, calling for a New World Order back in 1990, and it's just following forward. They're following the blueprint perfectly. They are destroying our economy and our dollar.
All the dots are there, people. We just need to connect them all. They're extraordinarily obvious right in our face, and they really don't hide their plans at all.
No, I see what we have realized in the last 12 months as some gigantic steps by the globalists to hijack our government and to move us forward into a New World Order. And there's others saying the same thing. We've got a break coming up in about 45 seconds. Again, our website's therealnewsradio.com, and you can email us on air at therealnewsradio.com, and we're here on WSIC 1400, WDSL 1520. We'll be back after the break.
They are playing it. Are you hearing it?
Yes, barely.
When I nod, go.
All right, we're back on the Real News, and I want to apologize. I'm a victim of chemtrail cough. I'm having a cough this morning. I think Brian.
I am too.
For some reason, we wasn't able to have our interview today with Virginia Fox. We will reschedule. We do have her down for April 25th, so we're going to continue with some financial news. To follow up what Brian was saying, this was reported this past week in Russian press, and Russia proposes the creation of a global super reserve currency. Russia suggests the G20 summit in London in April should start establishing a system of managing the process of globalization and consider the possibility of creating a supranational reserve currency or a super reserve currency. The Russian Federation's proposals for ways out